Alright, here we go. Algebra 1, Chapter 6 review. Okay, numbers 1 and 2 say to graph. Now remember, you're getting graded on the answer, so the solution. So you don't necessarily have to graph it, but I'm going to show you how to graph it. These first two are in standard notation, so remember you can find the x and y intercepts by making the other one 0. So the first line here, make x 0 to get the y-intercept, make y 0 to get the x-intercept. Okay, so the x-intercept is 4. The y-intercept, make x 0, is -4. The second line, the y-intercept is 10, the x-intercept is 10. Okay, so I'll graph those intercepts. 10 and 10 is the one line, and the other one, 4 and 4, are the intercepts. You could alternately also put it in the slope-intercept form by moving the x to the other side. I'm just showing you how to graph it in standard form, just a reminder here. Graph those two and the solution is 7 and 3. Remember, you can also use elimination on these if you want. You would also get 7 and 3. Make sure you're putting that in the correct order, x first, then y. Same thing here, -3 is your y-intercept, so put a dot at -3. Okay, and then from -3, the slope is 1, which means you go up 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1. Okay, so from that point, up 1 over 1. Now, since this graph is so small, I would recommend doing several more of these, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. You could just continue that. Okay, that same slope. Then you would see where they intersect, these two. This is 9, so starting here, and then down 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and there you find the intersection right here. So if you graph that, it should look like this, and your intersection is 4 and 1. Number 3. When these equations are solved for a variable, that lends itself to using substitution. So we can take the 2 and plug that in for y, and then we get 2x is equal to 6 minus x, and then add x to each side, plus x here. Cancels out there. We get 3x is equal to 6. Divide by 3 on each side, and we get x is equal to 2. In this one, they are lined up. They're not solved for any variable, but they're already aligned, and we have the same coefficients, so we need opposite coefficients, which means we're going to multiply the second one by -1. So change all the signs. Make that negative, make this positive. Alright, so this is a plus right there. Okay, so now 2 minus 2x cancels out. 3y minus 3y cancels out. Remember, canceling out means that's 0. Okay? We don't usually have to write that, but if it's the only thing that's left here, then put a 0 there. 4 plus 1 is 5. Is that true? 0? Does 0 equal 5? Nope. So that is no solution. Number 5. This is solved for y, so I'm going to use substitution. You don't have to. You can change this and align the variables, but I'll show you substitution on this one. X plus 8 is equal to -10. Okay, so here is the y that I replaced, and then combine like terms, we get 3x. Subtract the 8 from each side, and we get 3x is equal to -18. Divide by 3, and you get x is equal to -6. Okay, I'll walk you through a couple more, and then I'll just show you the first step and the work on these. Alright, here, again, solved for x, so I'm going to use substitution there. 3x minus, now it's important that you put this in parentheses. 2 times, oh, sorry, I was going to replace for the wrong one. This is solved for x. See? Made a mistake. Now you can make sure you don't make that mistake. You notice that I plugged it in for the wrong one 3 times. -4y minus 3 minus 2y is equal to 5. to do distributive property here. So we get negative 12y. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Minus 2y is equal to 5. Combine like terms. Negative 14y. And we're going to add the 9 to the other side. Is equal to 14. Divide by negative 14. And y is equal to negative 1. Then I can plug that back in up here, negative 1, and I'll get negative 1. Okay, so here I've plugged in the negative 1 into the first equation. It doesn't matter which one you plug it into, just whichever one's your preference. And then solved, so we get x is 1. So remember, your answer should be an ordered pair, because the solution to a system of equations is a point on the graph. So that's 1 and 1. Over here I solved, I plugged in the negative 6 up here. Negative 6 plus 8 is 2. So my solution should be negative 6 and 2. That's a 2 there. Alright. Here I have equal coefficients, so I'm going to multiply the second one by negative 1. That means change all the signs. Make that negative, make that positive, make that negative. Of course, there's no negative 0, but just so you can see what we're doing. This cancels out. Negative 4y plus 3y is negative 1y is equal to, add these up, 6, divide by negative 1. Y is equal to negative 6. Now we're going to plug that back in. So plugging that back in gives me minus negative 6, which is plus 6. Move that to the other side. 6x is negative 6. Divide by 6. X is negative 1. Negative 1 and negative 6. Number 8. Notice none of the coefficients are equal. None of them are opposite. So I'm going to check what can I multiply to get the other one. 3 and 2 don't multiply to get each other. I can multiply 2 to get 6. And since I want the opposite, I'm going to multiply to get negative 6. And that means multiplying this by negative 3. So I'll get negative 9x minus 6y is equal to negative 39. Then when I add these up, and I rewrote this down here, just because I don't want to skip the line here, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. Add these up, I get negative 7. X is equal to negative 21. Divide by negative 7 on each side. X is equal to 3. And then I can plug that back in into one of these up here. I'll solve that off screen. Okay, so we're going to plug x equals 3 into this first one. So we'll put a 3 there. 2 times 3 is 6. And then bring the 6 to the other side. 6y is 12. Divide by 6, y is 2. So my answer here is 3 and 2. Number 9. These are nicely lined up. These have the same coefficients. These have opposite coefficients. So I can just tally these up. Because these already have opposite coefficients, these will cancel out. Remember, if a variable doesn't have a coefficient, there's a 1 there. So that's 2x. See, a lot of mistakes happen there. We just forget that that's 1. Just carried out an x. So 2x is 18, divide by 2, and x equals 9. And then we can plug that back in into either one of these. X plus 9 is 13. So subtract 9 from each side. 9 plus y is 13. Subtract 9 from each side, y equals 4. So this is 9 and 4. Over here, this one is solved for y, so I'm going to plug this in for y. So x plus x minus 4 is equal to 12. 2x, and then we'll add the 4 to each side to get rid of that, is equal to 16. Divide by 2. X is equal to 8. Plug in 8 to either one of these. This one's easier, so we'll put 8 right there. 8 minus 4 is 4. And my answer is 8 and 4. Okay, this says use substitution, but it doesn't matter which one you use. Whichever one you want to. Substitution happens to be the easier one, so I'm going to do x plus 2 times 3x is equal to 21. That's 6x plus x is 7x is equal to 21. Divide by 7. And x is equal to 3. Plug that in here. 3 times 3 is 9, so my answer is 3 and 9. This says use elimination. Doesn't matter which one you use, really, but I'm going to line these up. Y minus 3y is equal to negative 4. I want opposite coefficients, so I'm going to multiply this by negative 1, which means I change all the signs. Okay, that's a plus, this is a plus. So now these will cancel out. This is 4y is equal to 12. Divide by 4. Y is equal to 3. Plug that back into either one of them. 3 there. Subtract 3 from each side. And x equals 5. So 5 and 3. Okay, to graph the inequalities, I'm going to put them in slope-intercept form. I'll move the x to the other side. Remember, when it crosses the equals or the inequality sign, it changes its sign. So that's y is less than or equal to negative x plus 5. Okay, so now I know the y-intercept is 5. The slope is negative 1, because negative, that's negative 1 over 1. Okay, here the y-intercept is 2. So when I graph those, I have a y-intercept of 2 for the second one and a slope of 1, up 1 over 1. Now, because these are so small, make several dots there. Keep going up 1 over 1. Same thing for this one. Down 1 over 1. Okay, now I want to determine which side gets shaded after I graph those lines. So you can plug in 0, 0 if it's not on a line. See, is that true? If it's not, shade the other side. Or we can just look at the signs. This first one with a y-intercept of 5, that's this one right here, is less than. If it's solved for y is less than, then that means this side here gets shaded. The second one here, y is greater, so that's this line with a y-intercept of 2, greater than, so that's above the line, so that's all this. Okay, for the second one, I did the same thing, moved 3x to the other side. Now we have a negative y, so I need to get rid of that negative by multiplying by negative 1. Remember to flip the sign when you do that. And then I can graph that same way. Y-intercepts, graph it, continue your slope, down 2 over 2, down 2 over 2. Same thing here, up 3 over 3. And now determine which side gets shaded. Remember, I can look at the signs. Y is greater than negative 2x, that's this line right here. Negative 2, remember, that's plus 0, so that's why it goes through the origin. And then that means greater than, sorry, the other side. Greater than is on this side. Okay, and for this one, when I solved that, this turned around and became less than. Y was less than positive 3x plus 9. So then less than is below the line, so that's going to be all this area over here. Okay, for these to determine does it have one or infinite solutions or none, you need to see are the slopes the same. If the slopes are the same, then they're either parallel or the same line. Different y-intercept, they're parallel, no solution. Same slope, same y-intercept, same line, infinite solution. And here we have different slopes, one solution, different slopes, one solution. When we're using substitution here, we're going to plug in negative 5x for y. So that's C, negative 5x, 20. Here you go, substitution, there you go, x is 1. And 21, if you use substitution, replace all this, you get x is 11, y equals 7. Remember to smash that like button with your nose.